Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into episode 11 and 12 of the Fantasy Fax Podcast. David and I are recording a bonus double episode for y'all today. Really looking forward to that. Going to cover a lot of awesome content, all smushed into one little package. So, looking forward to doing that for you guys today. We wanted to make sure that we didn't fall behind for you guys on our content, even though I've been traveling and we weren't able to put up our Friday episode. And so the best way we figured to do that was to smush two of them together and give you a double time. Episode will probably be about the same length as two normal episodes, but it'll just be combined into one. We're covering some really good stuff today. We're covering wide receiver rankings, our last position group that we need to get to for the upcoming season. Really excited to talk about that a little bit. I think David and I have some alignment, but we also have some differences, and so I think it'll be good to kind of talk through those so you can hear both sides of why we like these guys, why we don't. Talk through some tier breaks like we did with the running backs, good things like that. And then we're also going to do my personal favorite kind of segment of the year, and it's tips and tricks for drafting in general and drafting in the draft landscape of the 2026 draft. So really looking forward to giving you guys some tips, some ideas, some what do David and I do when we're sitting in the draft room, to really help you guys perform better on your draft, which is in turn going to help you perform better during the regular season. David, what's up?
What's up, man? My boy Drew's back from a little trip, like he said. He got to wear a beautiful little kilt. If we did better editing, or when the editing budget's up right here, I would be popping up a picture of Drew in my hand in a kilt, but I don't think we're quite there yet. But no, it's going
We
well.
we don't want
Scare away the viewers. Yeah.
well, we don't want the viewers to think that this is like a sexual show. It's a football show, so we're
This
gonna
guy.
we're gonna keep
Pasty
it.
white knees. No, it's going well. I just moved into the new apartment for the year. School starting in about a week, I think, here. So, what is it? Fourth location I've recorded from here, but this one will be a pretty permanent one for the next year. Other than if I'm back home for any sort of holidays or whatnot, but hopefully can get used to the background now. Drew's been the exact same background every episode, and I've been different every two episodes.
Yes,
No,
I have a
excited to get into
beautiful
this.
white wall.
Yeah, excited to get into this and keep growing past the divisional breakdowns and into some more content for you guys. So let's talk receivers.
Yeah, David was sick of divisional breakdown. To be honest, I'm sick of rankings. I want to talk like mock drafts. I want to talk draft
I'm so ready
strategy.
to do a mock draft.
Like that's
And,
so
yeah.
what I'm on. And that's a little sneak preview to Friday, guys. We're going to be doing our first mock draft episode on Friday. David and I have our League of Record draft coming up on Sunday. It's significantly earlier than we want to be doing it, but we had to find a time that worked for all the guys, and life's busy, so we're doing our draft a little bit early this year. For that reason, when we do the mock draft episode on Friday, David and I are going to also use it as a opportunity to kind of strategize for our own personal drafts coming up in the league that's most important to us, as we said with the League of Records. So I'm going to be drafting out of the 10 hole, or sorry, David's going to be drafting out of the 10 hole, and I'm going to be drafting out of the 3 hole. We're going to do a 10-team half PPR mock on ESPN, exactly what we do for our League of Record. So looking forward to kind of talking through our draft strategies, picking from the front and picking from the back, so you guys get a variety, but then also should help David and I a little bit, even though we've been preparing quite a bit on our own.
Dude,
as
I gotta
well.
say, I think I got myself stretched a little too thin on like fantasy leagues that have money involved in them this year. I've got the Dynasty League we have, then I have our main league, then I have 2 eliminator leagues now that are like where you have to not have the least amount of points because our uncle got me in another one.
Also called a chopped league sometimes.
Yes, a chopped / like guillotine, all those things. But no, I have one on Sleeper and one on ESPN now. Both my uncles got me into those two, and I gotta say, I never expected Paul to be entering me in a fantasy league, but look how far he's come. And then I also have like probably the pick'em thing that we do on ESPN through the Conwell thing, Drew, where you pick a winner each week, and if you get it wrong,
Eliminator challenge.
and then
different than fantasy, but
and then
also
the
very fun.
pick'em thing that I run on Sleeper with my friends. So I got a lot going on, and it's all coming up pretty quick, and I'm just realizing that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. As you can see, David's stretched out across quite a few different things. I'm pretty stretched out as well. I have a lot of the same things David just mentioned. League of Record, Dynasty. I'm in the Eliminator Challenge as well. I'm in David's Picks Pool as well. And then I also run Keeper League. I don't run it, but I'm part of it with some buddies from back home. And I'm in a league that has a very large buy-in and a very large payout. That is quite fun, I have to say. A very competitive league that I'm in with my stepdad. And so I'm stretched pretty thin as well. This will be David and I, both of our second draft coming up on Sunday. And then I've got two more after that. And it sounds like David's got
is our first two. And that's surprising because we don't typically like to draft too early. Felt okay to run the Dynasty one a little earlier just because it's a different setup. But obviously, like Drew said, you guys should wait as long as you possibly can to draft because, as you can see, the
ideal draft
new injury the day before the season starts, honestly.
Yes, the NFL season starts on Wednesday, September 9th this year. The best day to draft is Tuesday, September 8th, if you can do it.
There's a Wednesday game this year? Is it the Brazil game or whatever?
It's the Australia game.
Oh. Who plays in that?
It's gonna be a good game.
Rams. Super Bowl rematch? Oh no.
No, it's Rams. Oh wait, you're right. You're right. The Australia game's the Thursday game. You're totally right. The first game is the Super Bowl rematch, Seahawks Patriots. And the Australia game will be fun too. It's Rams 49ers. So first two games are gonna be good.
But no, yeah, wait as long as you can because I was saying you see these injury news, all the injury news that's coming out every single day of training camp. And
sucks.
If you draft before that happens and then your star player goes down with a ACL, GG's, have fun next year. I mean, yeah, wait as long as you can.
You mean like me in Dynasty who has Breece Hall, Jordan Tyson, Puka Nacua, and every other guy who has a strained groin?
Yeah, now imagine that was your
destroyed hamstring.
Team. Imagine you had that. It was a redraft league. You just might as well chop up the season.
Right. Yeah, I'm really nervous about the ESPN League of Record draft because it's way earlier than I want it to be, but we have to do what we have to do. Let's jump into the wide receivers before we get too carried away. But
I should wait. We could talk about this when we get to them in our rankings, and maybe I'll leave this question up and we'll cover it later. But how do you handle the Puka situation with injury and the potential suspension looming over him? How does that affect your rankings? I guess we'll dive right into that in our episode.
I can tell you pretty quick, honestly. The injury doesn't scare me at all. He's got a sore groin.
I think he picked up something with his hip today as well. I don't know if you saw that, but
maybe. But yeah, I'm not worried about the injury. The suspension, it's one of those like who knows, right? I'm not sure. He didn't change in my rankings at all. He changed in yours, so apparently it worries you a little bit more than it does me. But yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to number 2/1. We'll leave that for the viewers to figure out.
Yeah,
a little later. Let's jump in at number 20. To be honest, I'm pretty mad that we have to talk about this guy, so I'm gonna let you talk. Tet McMillan comes in at number 20.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be something frustrating to talk about. He's a pretty good talent.
Boring.
I think every single person in the fantasy football and football community thinks that Tet McMillan is a good NFL receiver, if not a great NFL receiver. And I think Drew thinks he's average. Or an average.
Not at all. Not at all. He's a good receiver. He's not
awesome.
And never will be great.
He is already great. To put up those numbers with Bryce Young as a rookie proves that he is that level of a talent. Anyways, we're talking fantasy this year.
I can't wait for him to put up those numbers with Bryce Young again. It's going to be awesome.
He's going to have a little bit better year, I think. Just the growth into it. I have him higher than Drew does. I don't have him that high just because if Bryce Young doesn't have a good year at all, he's going to be capped. But I actually am starting to believe in a little bit of a Bryce Young improvement this season. I think he looks really good.
David has him 20. I have him 21, just for reference. So
Okay.
we're acting like we're very different, but we're not.
I moved him down quite a bit today just because the risk is a little bit higher than the reward, I think, this year. But he's solid. I mean, I'd feel very, very, very safe with him as a wide receiver too in fantasy. The volume's there, and he's T. Higgins light at this point in his career, but just a little bit of risk.
I disagree. He doesn't have the upside T. Higgins has.
That's why I said T. Higgins light, because he's T. Higgins light.
He doesn't excite me at all. I don't see the upside for him to jump into the top 10 at all. He played every single game last year. Didn't miss a single game to injury, suspension, or any other reasons you can miss games, I guess. And he finished as the wide receiver 15 in half PPR. Last year, I don't know. I think people sometimes don't realize they're always just looking at where a guy finishes and they're like, oh, this guy was the wide receiver 15. This guy was the wide receiver 7, blah, 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 blah. Last year was a terrible year for wide receiver injuries. We had all sorts of guys finish way higher than they typically would on an average based upon their points per game and stuff. Or actually based upon their season-long points, like guys who typically would finish quite a bit lower based on their season points output, finished a lot higher last year. Zay Flowers was an example of that as well. He finished as the wide receiver 7. That's crazy to me. And again, it was because the guys that didn't miss games last year just finished higher. That's how it was, because there's so many guys that missed games. And then like you also had like the Jamar Chase type situations where it was like he was irrelevant for like 4 weeks because he had to deal with Jake Browning and like things like that. So, yeah, I'm just not excited by a guy that played every single game last year and couldn't crack the top 10. If people are healthier this year, I think he's going to finish as a back-end wide receiver 2, which is exactly where I have him. And like I said, I don't see the upside to jump into the top 10. The offense is what's going to limit him. He's talented enough to be a top 10 receiver in fantasy if he was in the right situation. But I don't project the Panthers' offense to be vastly improved at all. I think, if anything, it'll stay the same. And that the ceiling's just so capped in terms of the upside. Like I will have 0 shares of Tet McMillan at his ADP, 0, because I'm not interested in drafting a guy in my first 4 or 5 picks that I don't see any upside to reach the top 10. Like it's not interesting to me at all.
See, and I understand where Drew's coming from here, guys. Don't get me wrong. I just think you're looking at talking about, okay, he played every game and he was the wide receiver 15. He was also a rookie. And even to be able to do that as a rookie in the NFL is pretty impressive. He was the offensive rookie of the year.
He was the first wide receiver taken in the draft. We expect that from wide receivers that are taken highly in the draft. He was the rookie of
the year offensively, and so he had a really great year for a rookie receiver. Much better than someone like Marvin Harrison had his rookie year, who was a higher prospect. And so I think it is a little bit disrespectful and discrediting to him to say
a bust, but
yeah, but to say like he put up only these numbers. I mean, it was the best season that a rookie receiver's had in a little bit, and it was by far he's had the best rookie season of anybody in this draft class. And receivers tend to break out year 2.
We've talked about this as well.
To break out year 2, and so for him to have that as a rookie gives him only room to grow, I think, as a prospect. And I think he's a guy that has the talent level because he's big, but he also moves, and so he has a skill set to be a top 10 receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, David and I just view it differently. Most rookie receivers don't finish that high because most rookie receivers are not the number 1 target on their team from day one, playing all the snaps, playing all the games with no injuries, no starting the year slow because they're only playing 50% of the snaps, whatever. He was playing an extremely high percentage of snaps from day one. He was the clear number one target on his team. He was force-fed the ball. He played every single game, didn't miss a game, and he only finished as the wide receiver 15 in a year with tons of injuries and terrible finishes from wide receivers. I just like, if he slightly improves and more people stay healthy, I think he'll finish as the wide receiver 15 to 20. Like, that's just where I'm at with the injuries and how last year went. And like I said, I don't want to draft somebody as my wide receiver 2 that I don't even see a slight path for them to be a wide receiver 1. Like, I have to at least see the upside. I can get guys who I think can jump into the wide receiver 2 realm much later. I don't need safe wide receiver 2s with my top 4 picks. Like, that's just not what I'm interested in. I want upside. So that's why I'm out on him. David looks at where he finished as a rookie and sees that he could improve, and David's completely right. And I do think he'll improve a little bit in terms of his ability and his,
I think the difference for me
playing of the position. But I'm
to
thinking about it more in the context of how bad it was last season with wide receivers as a whole, and therefore not really interested in a guy who couldn't even crack the top 10 being the number one target on his team and playing 17 games.
Yeah, and I think the difference, honestly, is how me and Drew viewed him as prospects as well. I was higher on him coming into the league, and so I think he has the potential to just be a lot better receiver than we even saw last year. And as someone who watched a lot of his game film, because I had him in fantasy last year, I mean, shows I was high on him. He was my wide receiver 2 last year, or flex, as a rookie. And he looked great. He had one of the lower catchable target rates in the NFL, and he still put up those numbers. So to have
But David,
any
that stuff's
improvement,
not going to change. That stuff's
but
not
I
going
think
to
it
change.
is. I think the Panthers' offense is going to run more fluidly this season than it has the past couple of years, and I think Bryce
I
Young
don't
looks
see
a
it.
lot better.
I don't see it. They didn't change anything. It's the same coach, same play caller, same quarterback, same running backs, except maybe Jonathan Brooks will be better than Rico Dowdle was. I just, and the weapons around him are still terrible. Like, I don't see how it's going to get better. And I think their division is going to be better too. The Saints are going to be better. I think the Buccaneers will bounce back. Maybe they're not going to be like an amazing team, but they're
See,
going to
for
bounce
me,
back from
it's
last
if you
year.
look
I think the
analytically,
Falcons are better than the Panthers. I think the Panthers are going to finish
I
fourth.
yeah. So if you look at it analytically, the second half of the season, Tet McMillan was able to perform at a higher level because Jalen Coker came onto the scene and was getting open as well, and so he was drawing some of the defensive coverage, and so I'm excited for a full season of that. I think that's going to help him quite a bit. That Bryce Young built that rapport with another receiver as well, and so that's going to free up McMillan more because they have another competent receiver, and so overall, I'm just excited for the year 2 potential breakout for Tet McMillan. And Bryce Young has slowly done this a little bit in his career, and so I think he had a little bit of a teeter, but he looked pretty good last year. I'm expecting him to continue to grow as a passer, especially as he goes into the second year with an elite target like Tet McMillan. And if he doesn't, he's going to finish as a low-end wide receiver 2 because of volume.
He might
And
even
so
finish
that's
outside the
his-
top 20 if things don't improve. It's
I-
very possible.
I don't see that. So I think his floor is here.
You
but
have him ranked 20, David. So of course he could finish a
I
couple spots
ranked him
worse.
as his floor. Yeah, that's where I think he ranks at the lowest because I'm unsure of the situation. But I only see it going up from there. And it's worth pointing out, I wouldn't draft him probably at his ADP in redraft leagues because he's higher than the wide receiver 20. All my stuff I'm saying is just as an NFL prospect, and potential for his season is much higher than I think that Drew's giving him credit for. And I think most people would agree with that, to be honest, from looking into listening to other things. We can't keep dragging on about wide receiver 20 in our rankings, but we just very clearly have different opinions, and that's okay. That's
Yeah.
the beauty of this.
It's okay. I think we need to talk about it because it's one of the areas where we're vehemently different. We agree on a lot of stuff, so we're going to be able to breeze through that a lot more. This is why I'm out on Tet, Bryce Young has given us 3 full seasons as a starting quarterback in the NFL, where he started 14 or more games. He's thrown for 2,800 yards, 2,400 yards, and 11 yards over 3,000 yards. Quarterbacks that throw for that low of yardage don't support wide receiver ones. Not possible. And Bryce Young is not going to magically throw for 4,000 yards this year. Like, it's just not going to happen. And that's his ceiling's capped by the system, by the quarterback, by the situation. Like, I'm Ted McMillan wasn't my favorite wide receiver prospect, but he was the best probably wide receiver prospect in that draft class a year ago. I mean, I liked some other guys a little bit better. But we talked about it when we covered the rookies on previous, seasons or whatever of the show. And it was just one of the weakest wide receiver draft classes I had seen in a long time. I don't even know if Tet would have been a first round pick in this year's draft. I think he would have been behind Lemon. I think he would have been behind Tyson. I think he would have been behind Tarnell Tate as a prospect. He probably would have been a first round pick, but he wouldn't have been a top 10 pick. I can tell you that. And he's really, really capped by the situation. And there's just no upside there. I'm not interested at all, especially with how high he's going.
That's kind of crazy. I think everybody in the football community would say Tet consensus, if you took 2 draft classes, is at least 2, if not 1, the last 2 years. He's right there.
I would rather have Tate and Tyson over him by a mile. It's not the other close.
Thing is, for me, is Bryce Young threw his most touchdowns that he had in a season last year by almost 10, and I think that's because we finally saw him with a competent receiver. He didn't have a target before, and he had his best season with a rookie as his best target, and that rookie is continuing to grow and learn the offense, and so
he threw for 3,000 yards.
Yeah, and he threw for
There's no juice for a wide receiver There's no juice for a wide receiver with a quarterback that throws for 3,000 yards, David. You can do the math. There's no juice.
I don't know, man.
Joe Burrow could easily throw for 4,500, 5,000 yards this year. Like, we're talking about thousands of more yards.
Pass yards for Bryce Young. I think it's going to be up.
He might throw for 3,500, 3,600 yards. He's still not going to support it.
If he throws for that much, Tet's going to be 3, 4, 5 points per game more, and at least 2 or 3.
It's not going to be a huge difference in Tet's finish. And I don't think Bryce Young's going to do that. So that's where we disagree more about.
Year. He had his first year.
I think we disagree more about Bryce Young than we do about Tet, actually.
That might be it, but Bryce Young, I was impressed last year with how he grew as a.
I think it's going to be a miserable year for the Panthers. I think the Panthers might win like 4 games.
I don't think it matters for Tet. I think the only thing that matters is if he's getting the ball, and he's gonna.
Yeah, it does matter though. Players do better in games that their team wins. That's just how it goes. I'm always looking at players that are, at the beginning of the year, their team's favored to win a lot of games because that means they're going to get off to good starts. Number 19, Ladd McConkey. I like Ladd this year. We lost. We should talk about that. Keenan Allen signed with the Colts. So that's some big news on the wide receiver front. David and I can break that down a little bit more in coming episodes when we have a little more time. But Ladd McConkey, wide receiver 19. David's got him ranked at number 18. I've got him ranked at number 22. I like him. I'm probably not going to end up with a lot of shares of him either based upon where he's going. He's another guy. I don't see the top 10 upside because of the type of player he is, and the fact that I think they have a lot of other good weapons there in the tight end room, in Quentin Johnston on the other wide receiver side. I think they want to run the ball with those good running backs. So we'll see on Ladd McConkey. I think he has a very good chance to finish as a top half wide receiver too. So that's he's a fair pick. but I don't know. Do you have anything to add? I feel like I'm just rambling at
No,
this point about Ladd McConkey.
it's another guy. I'm actually pretty excited to see how it works with Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel. Am I tripping? It's Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, and that's one of
Okay.
the things I love about him.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I've been seeing a lot of stuff. They came out and said like they want Justin Herbert to have the ball for no more than like 2.5 seconds. And so I'm really expecting, and we saw it in Miami with like Tyreek Hill. Like Ladd McConkey is the receiver that's going to be catching like those screen passes and those type of things. And so I'm excited for him for that. I think he's going to have a lot more receptions than he did the last year. Um, and
He has
he's
to.
the
Keenan
most
Allen vacated
explosive. Yeah, he's the most
almost 100
explosive.
catches.
He's a quick little guy, and so if they're throwing the ball close to the line of scrimmage, he's the guy that's going to be getting those quick receptions. And so in a half PPR, even full PPR league, he's going to have a much better season than we saw last year in this new system. And then it also will stretch the field. I mean, he can get open down the field when they need him to. He's a quick little guy, and so I'm excited. I wanted
80,
to rank him higher.
81 vacated receptions from last year, Keenan Allen, by the way.
I wanted to rank him higher than I did. I only didn't because the other people I just feel a little bit more safe about. But I really do. If I could get him in my wide receiver 2 spot, I would love it in redraft.
Much
I
more
think he's
excited
gonna
about
have
him
great
as a
year.
wide receiver 2 than Ted because
But I just wanted to give him a
see
little.
the path. I could see the pathway for the explosion.
Yeah,
I don't
feel you.
think it'll be big enough to go top 10, but I can see the pathway for him to finish wide receiver 12 or something like that.
No,
And
I just wanted to give him a little.
I feel like
more
they're going
credit,
in similar
than
ranges
what you
too,
said.
just based off of feeling. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I actually think he's one of my favorite wide receiver 2 targets. I think he's gonna have a really good year.
Fair enough. I think David and I agree on this guy. Number 18, Emeka Egbuka. I think David and I are really stoked about his upside. I have a feeling he's this low because of the toe injury.
Yes, he would
You have
be
to watch
higher.
the toe
Yeah.
injury. This is why you should draft as late as possible. But if the toe injury isn't an issue by the time we get around to week 1, David and I would have this guy ranked much higher.
No,
Is that fair to say?
He would be higher. He was higher in my rankings. I felt like I had to move him down with with what's likely turf toe. I've been seeing a lot of jokes that it shouldn't be called turf toe. It should be see a next year toe because it actually affects a player that much, which is really scary as a dynasty owner of Igbuka.
Well, it's not just to be clear, it's not turf toe because it can only be turf toe when it's the big toe. It's not the
that's
big
true.
toe. So, and the big toe is the most important toe. I know this sounds dumb, but as somebody who's studied a lot of anatomy in my time, I'm an occupational therapist. For those who don't know, the big toe is very, very important for cutting. It's very, very important for weight shifting. When you shift your weight forward onto the balls of your feet, your big toe takes a ton of weight. So if we're talking ring, pinky toe, middle toe, those types of things, it's going to impact his ability to cut and run significantly less. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that he does not have turf toe. And there's a reason they're not calling it turf toe, because it's not.
And it's a good point for Drew. But it does worry me. I was really excited for him, especially with Mike Evans leaving, just because we did see that rapport between him and Baker, and I looked a lot into the statistics. And speaking of uncatchable targets, do you want to take a guess at what receiver led the NFL in the lowest amount of catchable targets for the last half of the season?
It's Egbuka, and I knew that already before you set it up, because that's why he failed at the end of last year.
And it was because Baker Mayfield hurt his shoulder and was nowhere. I mean, look back at the
Mike
season.
Mike Evans was
and
injured.
Mike Evans came back, was injured, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff happened. But the biggest difference for Egbuka when he was playing well and when he wasn't was that the first half of the season, or the first 5-6 weeks when he had his great time, I think it was 5 or 6 weeks, and he had 5 or 6 touchdowns. And during that time, Baker Mayfield was arguably the front runner for MVP. In either week 5 or week 6, Baker Mayfield hurt his shoulder, and he was. I mean, look at the Bucks' record. They were 5-2, and they ended up 8-9, I think.
Yeah.
It shows how much worse the team was. And so what I'm trusting is that Baker's back to full health. And when he was at full health, we just saw how awesome he was for Egbuka, and we already have the chemistry there. And so without Mike Evans, I'm like, if both of them can come into the season healthy, which clearly is in question now, he's the guy that's going to make the bigger jump than Tet this season. I still think Tet's a more talented receiver than him, but I think Egbuka, like, the situation is perfect. He has a good quarterback and a wide open receiver room. He just needs to be able to be out on the field, and that's the concern. If he's healthy by the time you draft,
I think he's going to be okay injury-wise, honestly. I'm still targeting him in drafts. I think if anything might help you in drafts because he might slip a round or two later than he would have before. Especially because you can usually get him as your second wide receiver on your team. And I think that's the first name. You pair Egbuka with one of those top 5 guys, that's the first name we've talked about where you have a chance to have 2 top 10 receivers on your team.
Yeah, and you're right. And people are going to be scared because he was, quite frankly, bad to end the season. He was pretty much unplayable in fantasy. And a lot of people don't pay attention to those stats about so why was he so much worse?
It's a lot of people in your home leagues don't even know that Mike Evans is gone.
Yeah. And so, literally, people aren't going to attribute the fact that he sucked to end the season to Baker Mayfield being hurt. They're just going to think he wasn't a good receiver. And so, that mixed with the injury news here, like, he's going to have a price dip that I'm definitely very interested in. And the injury thing I need to look into a little bit more and just keep an eye on before our draft. Unfortunately, not a lot of time to do that. But if he's healthy, sky's the limit for him this year. He's one of the best targets at his ADP, especially if he keeps falling.
Yeah, David and I both love him. How many targets is Chris Godwin going to get in week 1 if he doesn't play? 12?
I was going to say 16, and I wasn't even kidding. Chris Godwin is also... It's good you mentioned that, because if Egbuka's out, Chris Godwin's going to freaking
And if you draft
feast.
Egbuka, please just draft Jalen McMillan in like the 12th round.
No, and then McMillan already...
And then you're covered. And then you're covered no matter what for week 1.
McMillan will be good if Egbuka's out. Like Drew's saying, like McMillan we've already seen is a solid receiver. It's just crowded.
Just draft Jalen McMillan, and then you have your insurance policy. You don't have to worry about it. But I'm liking Chris Godwin in the middle rounds more and more and more.
If Egbuka's even like playing, but he's hurt, dude, Godwin could be a real good value.
Yes, 100%. Number 17, Devontae Smith. He just keeps doing this in my rankings. Just keeps slowly climbing. Every day that Mekhi Lemon doesn't practice with a hamstring injury, he just keeps climbing. I love him. You can get such good value on him. I think if David's okay with it, we should push through him a little bit because we both love him. We both see the upside for him to be a star this year. And with the Mekhi Lemon injury, I don't think he's going to have much competition to start, and I think he's going to get off to a really good start. I think they're favored in quite a few of their first games.
I just gotta, because I know I'll agree with you. I just gotta grab a charger real quick. So just talk about it
no
for
worries.
1 second.
Mekhi Lemon, rookie wide receiver that they drafted in the first round. He's been missing basically all of training camp with hamstring injuries. They're talking about the fact that Dontavian Wicks has basically won the wide receiver 2 job to start the year. I think there's the potential for this offense to be significantly improved with the change in coordinator. We'll have to see on that, but I think the potential is there. I just don't see how Devontae Smith is not a smash pick. Another guy I could see crack that top 10. And you can get very, very nice value on him.
And don't mention he's already done it before. He's been a top 10 receiver with another target there. So,
and he used to be kind of this roller coaster, right? Like 4 and then like 26 and then like
No, the
7, and
consistency
then
is going
like
to be so
19.
much better
The
this year.
consistency is going to be so much better. And like I just said, I'm always looking at guys that are going to get off to hot starts because, one, that means your fantasy team's going to get off to a hot start, which you have to do because then you're in the power position in terms of trades and all that kind of stuff. Um, and secondly, I think the Eagles are favored in a lot of their games to start the year. So I'm very much in on Devontae Smith, and I think David is too. So we'll buzz right through that, I think, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, no,
Please
good
draft
shouts
him.
and yeah,
Please
yeah,
draft him.
that is, and he's good value. I mean,
At 15, we've got a two-way tie with T. Higgins and Zay Flowers. I can't really describe how different these guys are from a fantasy
I was
outlook
gonna
this year.
say they're like
Um,
the only
I
thing
will
similar is they play in the AFC North.
I will end up with 0 shares of T. Higgins because he's one of those. He's gonna finish as a wide receiver too, and you can draft him, and he will do so.
And
Um,
he will miss 2 games from injury because it happens at least. I mean,
two, two if you're lucky.
2 to 4, 2 to 6.
Um,
He misses, so he's one guy that like we like to say injuries aren't predictable. I would
they are
almost
with him.
bet you. I would give you a lot of money if he does not miss a game to injury. He's just like he's soft.
Him and
I think, is
Him
what
and
it
Jalen
is.
Waddle, they're predictable.
He's soft. Like T Higgins is soft. He just misses 3 weeks for like minor stuff that other people would play through, I think. And so he worries me in a redraft league, at any league really, because when he's out there he's good, but even when he's out there he has weeks where he scores 3 points because Jamar Chase is there. Then he also has weeks where he scores 32 points.
Right.
So I'm not too interested from a fantasy perspective. He's obviously not good enough to be your wide receiver.
He's going around all these
He's
other names
not
too, and I
not
want the shot on the
consistent.
upside.
So like, yeah, his upside even weekly isn't good enough to be your wide receiver 1 because he's a wide receiver 2 on his own team, and the way he is in fantasy, you don't want him as your wide receiver 2 because he's going to go score you 3 points and you.
Yeah, see, that's where David and I are different. I don't so much mind variability, especially I don't mind variability from my wide receiver 2. My wide receiver 1, that guy needs to be the one who's consistently giving me 15 to 25 points and then having explosion weeks, right?
Yeah,
But like
when I had T
I
in
like
Dynasty,
variability in my wide receiver 2 because if my wide receiver 2 then scores 25 points, like I've won the week, it's over. It doesn't matter what anybody else does, basically.
it's fair.
Um,
I just like
but
consistency.
I want
in
the
my
guys
2
that have the
spots. I
potential
like
to
the
jump into
upside.
the top 10, and I don't see that happening with T. Higgins, Z. Higgins. I almost crossed him and Zay Flowers.
Z
Um,
Higgins.
um, but I really, really want to talk about Zay Flowers. I love him. I love his prospects this year. They brought in Ben Johnson, disciple, to be the offensive coordinator. Lamar, you talked about with Egbuka how he really, really suffered with Baker Mayfield's injury. Zay Flowers finished as the wide receiver 7 last year with an injured Lamar Jackson the entire year. I think the upside for Zay Flowers this year is top 5, and I'm not exaggerating.
I think it's potentially higher. I mean, if he's a wide receiver 7 last year, I mean, he could finish top 3. I mean, like actually, he
I
has the
love him.
path.
If he's ever there when I'm drafting in the 4th round, I take him every single time. Like it's the easiest pick ever. I love
I
him.
gotta say, he may be going bye at the 3-4 turn.
Please do. It would be an excellent pick. I just can't quite grab him with where I'm drafting. I draft out of the 10 hole in the big money league, and I'll be getting him at the 3-4 turn if he's there for sure. Just like you are in redraft. So, yeah, please, please, please draft him. He's another easy one of my favorite guys on the list. He's also so freaking talented, dude. The Boston College tape is insane. If you haven't watched him,
Drew
because he
hyped me
played
up,
at Boston
or
College.
hyped him up to me when he was coming into the league. We wanted the Vikings to draft him. Obviously, Jordan Addison has been a very solid wide receiver 2 for us, or for the Vikings. But I mean, Zay Flowers is a dog, bro. Like he's tough, and he's gonna
If
be
you
real
haven't
tough this
watched
year.
his tape from college because he played for Boston College, please watch it. He's incredible. And I really think him and Lamar Jackson in combination with the change in offense this year could get simultaneously unlocked. I see the potential for a Lamar Jackson quarterback one finish, and I see the potential for a Zay Flowers top 5 easily.
Dude,
So,
you don't know how bad
um,
in redraft, but like I'm gonna try for this in the holy crap. My goal is to get Ashton Genty, CeeDee Lamb, or Justin Jefferson, and then at the next turn I want Flowers and honestly Devonta Smith, and my 3 receiver spots or 2 receivers and flex are gonna be dogs.
yeah. And then who knows? Maybe you can get Lamar in the 5th. Um, I don't know, but it's possible. At number 14, Garrett Wilson. I don't think we need to talk about Garrett Wilson. He plays on a bad team. He's going to have 140 targets. There's 0% chance that he finishes outside the top 20. Zero. If the Jets offense improves a little bit and Geno can at least facilitate a little bit of offense, we've talked about it with Breece Hall. We see the top 10 upside. There's top 10 upside there for Garrett Wilson. I think if he makes the top 10, it's going to be back end. He'll be like wide receiver 8, wide receiver 9, something like that. But the upside is there for it. I love getting him. He's a great one to pair with Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra type player. If you get him in a pair with them, very, very solid at the wide receiver position. I don't know if you have anything to add about Garrett Wilson, David.
No.
He feels easy to me as well. He's a good value where he's going.
Regardless how poop of a quarterback I think Geno Smith is, I can't say that because Aaron Rodgers is technically there, but like he's just so much better than Justin Fields for Garrett Wilson that it excites me that Garrett Wilson has like someone that wants to throw the football.
And the Jets drafted a first-round wide receiver, and I have not heard a single good thing about Omar Cooper Jr. I haven't heard a single thing.
No, I've heard some stuff, but you know what I heard is that some guy that they drafted in like the 6th round has jumped Omar Cooper on the depth chart.
Sadiq, I haven't heard any news about Sadiq.
Dude, I gotta say,
I've heard stuff about Mason Taylor. How does Garrett Wilson not get 140 targets this year? He might be the most targeted player in the NFL at the end of the year.
He probably will be.
I think he will be.
Anything else? I mean,
so
you're seeing stuff about
Adonai
Mitchell still in 2026 out of the Jets receiver room.
That's who's going to be the wide receiver too. By the way, I just heard somebody talking about it. That tells you how many
targets Garrett Wilson's going to get. But can we just talk about like, we'll do this in the mock draft, but I'm just realizing there's a potential that my fantasy draft starts out with Jefferson, Genty, Smith, Flowers, Lamar Jackson, and then I still get DeAndre Swift as my RB2 where he's going. And
you're not going to get DeAndre Swift in the 6th round anymore. He's going to go significantly higher.
He's still there right now. I was just looking.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I won't let it happen, just so you know. And I think there'll be other people that are around me that won't let it happen.
That's my dog. I'm fine though. I have him in Dynasty, but he's a if we went back to our running back,
if I could get Devonta Smith in the if I can get DeAndre Swift in the 5th round, I'll take him for sure. Anyways, please feel very, very comfortable drafting Garrett Wilson. Number 13, we have George Pickens.
Speaking of Swift.
Yeah. Very good chance that David's got a DeAndre Swift jersey in the background.
Gotta put that on the wall, man.
He was a top 10 wide receiver with CD last year. There's a very good chance he can do it again. He's not my favorite pick with how high he's going because I don't see the top 5 upside. Even though I know everybody's going to say he was a top 5 receiver last year. That got buoyed by some huge weeks when CeeDee Lamb was out.
And like I said, other top guys hurt.
I never stat guys with injuries. So that includes injuries to their competition. I think there's a very good chance he finishes as a top 15 wide receiver. But I want to snag guys where I see the top 10 upside, and he's going relatively high. Or sorry, not top 10, but top 5 upside. If I'm taking a wide receiver in the third round, I need to see the top 5 upside. I don't see it with George Pickens unless CeeDee Lamb gets injured.
Here's a
I don't end
tip.
up with him a lot, even though I have him in Dynasty, which is kind of ironic. But
here's a little tip, since the second half of the show is tips and tricks. Never look at where someone finished as like wide receiver 7, like that. Always look at their points per game. Much bigger tale of like what you should be expecting. You can't base anyone off how they finished as a receiver. The points per game.
Well, and you have to know the context too. Like, CeeDee Lamb was out for a few games, and George Pickens got so many points those few weeks.
Yeah.
After CeeDee Lamb came back, George Pickens still had some nice performances, which is, I think, kind of the right, because it was before CeeDee Lamb got hurt, we weren't getting a ton. Then CeeDee Lamb went out and he exploded. Then CeeDee Lamb came back, and there were some decent performances in there, but the upside got capped. And I think that third portion of the season is kind of the groove we're going to settle into and how the Cowboys are going to operate best. So there's going to be weeks where you get 2 touchdowns from Pickens and he scores 25 points. But I think you're going to have weeks where he scores 7. And it's just that's going to happen sometimes because CeeDee Lamb's so good.
To a lesser, between what he was on the Steelers and the Cowboys, where even when he was on the Steelers, he was so like boom or bust, but he's gonna be boom or bust, but his booms are bigger and his busts are slightly better still than they were on the Steelers. I think that's what I see for him.
He's a superior version of T. Higgins.
Yeah, that's a very fair take.
Now, when he signs a massive contract to be a wide receiver 1 somewhere next year for my Dynasty team, that's going to be fun. Number 12, we got Rashee Rice. He's going too high. I've been doing a lot of drafting on ESPN, so I can't speak to sleeper so much, but he's going way too high on ESPN. He's like a
late end of the first round.
Second round.
Oh, really?
No, not first round, David.
I've seen him like right on the. I thought his ranking was like 13.
David, the end of the first round is like where Amon-Ra's going. It's the end of the second round.
No, but I mean, like he's like 13, I think, or something ridiculous. Regardless, he's barely out of the first.
No, he's ranked like 17th or something like that.
Oh.
He's ranked back half of the second round. It's still too early. There's other guys getting drafted behind him on ESPN. This is all ESPN I'm talking about because I have kind of calmed down on the sleeper drafts while I prepare for League of Record. But there's guys going after the next. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4 guys we're going to talk about are behind him on ESPN. So I will have Rashee Rice nowhere. Unless his sleeper ADP is significantly
16.
different.
He's 16, so he's...
But look at the guys we're going to talk about at 11, 10, 9, and 8, all behind him.
Yeah.
So
for sure. I'm with you.
He's coming off a major injury. The expectations are too high coming off a major injury.
I did take him as an receiver 1, but that's just because I
totally,
trust him.
Totally fine in Dynasty, right? He's going to come back from the injury and he's going to be healthy eventually, and I can see it working out very, very well. Don't have any issue with that. He's not old either.
Speaking of Dynasty,
for me with Pickens, I see how it's the same for me with Pickens. I see how the situation gets better.
I got a text from one of our league mates this morning saying he was in for a trade, but I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what that trade was because I proposed like a hypothetical of like, we could do this if you give me some running backs a week ago, and then he responded and goes, I'm in. Or he's like, I've thought about it for a week.
Sounds like a Jack Munster Tiger response.
That would be correct. I don't know what he's in on.
I hope Jack listened to this.
I mean, I'm happy he's like in, but I don't know what our deal is. I sent him send me an offer. I haven't heard back yet, so we'll see how long that takes.
Number 11, Nico Collins. He feels like he's locked in to finish between 6 and 15. I just don't see how he cracks the top 5, and I don't see how he drops lower than 15. Um,
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I think
I'm
honestly, I don't
I'm
even see
comfortable taking
5.
him. I think he's kind of like Garrett Wilson for me. Like I'm very comfortable drafting him paired with a top guy.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't want
fair.
him as my wide receiver one,
No, no, no,
but
for
Nico
sure.
Collins paired with a Jamar Chase, with a Puka, with a Amon Ra, JSN, whatever, like totally fine.
As
Um,
crazy as this
and I don't think
sounds,
his draft cost is out of control either.
no, it's very fair. But as crazy as this sounds, I don't know. I never thought I'd be saying this, but somehow a guy coming back from almost losing his leg makes me concerned about Collins' upside because I actually think Tank Dell, if he's on the field, he looks healthy and him and CJ Stroud are like best friends, and so it will take away from Nico Collins' target share,
I don't think it
which
will. I think it'll take away from Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel
that's
and all the
fair.
other
That's
guys.
fair. But like Collins has not been exceptional the last year to year and a half because I had him in Dynasty and I he was borderline. Okay, now keep in mind my team was stacked. We've talked about this in other episodes, like unfairly stacked. But like I didn't really want to put him in my lineup because he was just like not performing.
Yeah,
And I think I
I
have a
had
little
him
bit of
in
that in my
I
head.
had him in other leagues where it wasn't so like broken like sleeper, and I will say he started off really slow, but he had a very strong back half.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fair. I need to go honestly
I
look at his last year because he was the wide
I
receiver 9, and so
yeah, I'm very confident that he's going to finish as a back end wide receiver one or a top end wide receiver two.
yeah, he was
Um,
solid. I gotta give him a little more credit. I thought he had a little bit worse season than he did, but
and
yeah, I agree with you.
The Texans were just so disappointing on
They
offense
didn't
last year.
score. We talked
We
about it. Like
talked
he's gonna
about how
score
the
more touchdowns than he did
yes, the
last year.
regression for touchdowns is there. Like I if I was projecting him, I mean, I think there's a decent chance he finishes as like wide receiver 7.
I
Um
He was 9 last year, so that's very, 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 very likely. I'd say
yeah,
with
and
the touchdown.
if you can get that in the third round, I think that's a decent value. So I'm comfortable taking Nico Collins for sure. Um I'm probably gonna have like a Jamar Chase and then probably go a couple running backs. So I don't think I'll get him, but that's just because of the way I'm building my team in the
I
first two picks.
I
But
think he's not an exciting pick, but he's a safe pick.
I
It's
don't
like
think
what we
you're
said
gonna
with
regret
Garrett
it. It's
Wilson.
exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it's Garrett Wilson, but better.
Now somebody that you might be on cloud nine or you might regret. Malik Neighbors coming in at number 10. Opposite of Nico Collins. I could see how it very, very much goes wrong, and I can see how it very, very much goes right.
Yeah, he's
Um,
literally this. This is him. I'm gonna say this: top 3 upside, outside the top 25 bot. Like that's his range, and that's terrifying in a redraft league.
yeah, yeah. If he slips enough that I can get him as my wide receiver 3, I do it every time. I don't feel comfortable with him as my wide receiver 2. Um, it's as simple as that for me. And sometimes he does slide because people are afraid of him. I've been able to scoop him in like round, 4 and stuff before, um, where I
To
actually
his
can
credit, all reports
get him
about
in the
his
flex or
health
whatever. And
for where he's at in his recovery is
but it's not
good.
just the injury though. That's the thing. It's Jackson Dart. It's Matt
Yeah.
Nagy as the offensive coordinator. There's so many things that scare me about it besides the
I
injury,
I feel
or in addition
fine
to the
about
injury, I
Dart.
should say.
Like I mean, Vikings just played Jackson Dart in a preseason game, and I mean, oh my God,
He
I've never
almost
seen a
died because
team
of
blitz.
Tyrone
I
Tracy.
know. I was gonna say, I I've never seen a team blitz so many times in a preseason game, and it's not Brian Flores. We had our like outside linebackers coach calling plays, and he just like freaking was like, everybody blitz every single play. I mean, Dart got popped once and had a couple, but he had a decent outing against the Vikings' number one defense. To be honest, I was pleased with what I saw. He ended up throwing a touchdown, took advantage of little midget Ivan Pace. But and that was actually a Jackson Dart to Malachi Fields, both on my dynasty squad. Look out, baby! But no, I mean I think he'll be fine. I trust Dart. I actually feel better after seeing him just in action again after hearing some things that he didn't look so good. But everything's been a little bit more positive about Dart the last couple weeks after the first week of training camp. So I'm feeling a lot more confident about him. So I'm not so worried about that. The Matt Nagy thing, maybe a little bit, but honestly, the Giants' offense didn't look terrible. So, especially against a first-team defense that should be pretty decent defense. So I'm more want to make sure Malik Neighbors is truly going to be out on the field. But if he is, I'm not worried about the other things for him. He's gonna have a good year if he's out there.
Yeah. Fair enough. Can we talk about the next two guys? Because I really like them. Number 9, we've got Chris Olave. Number 8, we've got AJ Brown. I think they're about the same range on ESPN.
You are not talking about. I think you're talking about Chris Olave.
Yes, my dad still calls him that.
Olave.
I love both these guys. It's clear top 5 upside this year.
Dude, Olave is just like after the freaking injury, with the Tyson injury. Like I was a little worried because, dude, I gotta be honest. Tyson was like, I always thought he was good, but like seeing the clips from their training camp, I was like,
Tyson is so freaking good.
Different.
You see why he was arguably my wide receiver
and so
in the draft class.
I actually think here's my other thing. I'm gonna mention this while we're on Olave. Tyson's gonna be back this season. If he's in like the 9th round or later, he is 100% worth a pick because he's the type of player that comes back and wins you a league. Because if he comes back and he's gonna be, if he comes back and he's even like effective 80%, he is gonna like be better than anybody else you could get in that range. He'll be a playable person in your lineup, and he will win people leagues if he's back on the field.
Draft Chris Olave, get off to a 3-1 or a 4-0 start. Trade Olave.
Him. Yeah, and then you use Tyson when he comes back, and you win your league. That's all you got to say.
Not even use Tyson. Use the sick stuff you get for Chris Olave. Because I think at that point, a month in, he will be a top 5 receiver, arguably. AJ Brown, David and I both see the upside there. Seems like the connection's good with Drake May. I'm really hoping I can get Drake Brown in my keeper league because I'm going to keep Drake May. So looking forward to hopefully trying to build that stack.
Sorry, what?
Did I say Drake May? Stack Drake May with Drake May?
And I didn't know what you were trying
Brown.
to say.
Sorry, AJ Brown.
I was like, are you trying to say you want to take Drake May or AJ Brown?
You can get good value on AJ
Young,
Brown.
I think.
I don't know. I'm tired. I got back from Scotland yesterday. I'm jet lagged. Anyways, David and I both see the upside with AJ Brown. I think we both like him at his draft cost. Is that fair to say, David?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
I'll say it again.
Let's move to Drake London.
Earlier, I think AJ Brown is the best valued receiver at his ADP of anybody right now. And he's gone up a little bit since then, and I still think that.
Yeah. Let's move to Drake London.
Drake London is T. Higgins if T. Higgins was the wide receiver 1 on the Falcons.
This is the first name in the top 10 where I can really, really see where it goes wrong. I mean, I guess Neighbors was top 10, but I could see how it doesn't go right. For large periods of last year, it didn't go right. He made up for it with some 30 pieces, but
I will not be drafting Drake London.
I find him slipping a lot when I do ESPN mocks, and there's been times where I've been able to get him at the end of the 2nd, beginning of the 3rd, and there I start to become okay with it because it's like Drake London as a wide receiver 2 with Jamar Chase, right? Like that becomes a real possibility.
That's a fair point.
But most of the time he doesn't make it there. I think mid-second round to early 2nd round is a little high for him. I like the running backs going in that range around him significantly better. So, I would much rather come out with a Chase Brown, with a Kenneth Walker, with those type of guys that are going mid-second round as well. So I'm not like you can't draft Drake London, but if you're drafting like 7th or 8th, I'd much rather draft JSN and a running back or Amon-Ra and a running back 1-2 than I would draft a running back and then Drake London.
So to me, this is just really a random thought. To me, Drake London current is what I expect Ted McMillan to be. A really, really solid receiver, a borderline top 10 NFL receiver who's in a bad situation. And that's been Drake London for his entire career. And I kind of am worried that that's going to be Tet for his entire career, stuck in purgatory, sort of say. But I think those two players are really good comps, and I only mention this because we talked so much about Tet earlier. I think Tet follows the Drake London career arc. Drake London he's a pretty similar play style and prospect, and it took him a while to get to the point where he is. He was kind of like, everybody thought the same thing about him that they think Drew's talking about with Tet, and eventually he kind of stepped into that upper tier. And that's what I think for Tet. But while I say that,
yeah, I don't think Tet's as good as Drake London.
I don't know, but that's what I expect for him, and I think it's a really good comp. And I think Drake London scares me in fantasy, and he's a really good receiver, but he's just in a bad situation. And I think similarly for Tet, and I hope that changes for Tet. But yeah, I know Drake London, with at value, like Drew said, he could be good, but he's like right on that.
I'm just glad I don't have to make the decision with where I'm picking.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, he's right after all those like top tier receivers, and so I think drafting him just kind of feels disgusting because you're like, oh, I missed out on Jefferson and Amon-Ra. Who's there? And it's Drake London, and it's just kind of like, oh, like
yeah. And we've kind of said when we've talked about the draft, like we really don't love drafting like 7 through 9 are kind of our least favorite area of the draft to pick. I've thought about it a lot more because I don't want to just be like, hey, it sucks to pick there to our listeners and viewers that are picking there. I much, much, much prefer drafting a wide receiver with the first pick and drafting a running back with the second pick if you're drafting in that range. I'd much prefer to have JSN, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and then pair that with a Genti, with an HN, with a Chase Brown, Ken Walker, those type of guys. I'd much prefer that to a James Cook and Drake London or a Jonathan Taylor, Drake London.
I do just want to mention this because I think it's interesting. So Drake London, other than this past year, has been a very healthy receiver. He had only missed one game in his career before that. But what's interesting is, so his rookie year, he played all 17 games, and he was worse than Tet. His next year, he missed one game and he was a wide receiver 36 his rookie year. Then he was a wide receiver 39. Then he was a wide receiver 5. And so my point is, even those years where he was rough, you could see the talent as a receiver. He just wasn't getting the catchable balls that he needed. And that's what I see with Tet, and that's why I'm projecting it. And I just want to use it.
He's not going to let us get away from the Tet conversation.
No, so he's right on that arc, and he's actually in a better spot than Drake London was. And I think, here's my hot take. I'm going to say this. Drew disagrees. Tet is a better receiver than Drake London and was a better prospect coming out of college.
That's an awful take.
And on to the next.
That's an awful take. Number 6, can we stop talking about Tet?
So this number 6 receiver reminds me a lot of Tet. I'm just kidding.
You just completely cut out. I have no idea what you said.
I said this number 6 receiver actually reminds me a lot of Tet, and then I was just joking.
Number 6 is CeeDee Lamb. He's nothing like Tet. CeeDee Lamb is great. I really like getting CeeDee Lamb at the back of the first, if you can do it. It's as simple as that. I don't have much to add. I think
Very
it's a
good.
pick. I think it's a pick 'em on CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. I think David's got a little more conviction that Justin Jefferson ahead of CeeDee Lamb um, than I do. For me, it's
I
like
just am excited about
I would
Jefferson, I think.
take either one.
I will take either
I
one.
think
I
it's a
think the
coin flip
reason
who
I'm
finishes
in on
higher.
Jefferson is because I think Jefferson's out to prove something this year now. Um, he's kind of got a lot of disrespect, and he seems like the kind of guy he's not out to take that. He wants people to know he's the best, and so I think he's gonna have a huge year. Um, and skill wise, or as receivers, but I mean Justin Jefferson, I think is the best receiver in the NFL. Pure skill, I would say him, and then I think Puka's then Jamar
I
Chase,
think Puka's
and
passed him personally.
I just think, well, I think Jefferson just does
Still
everything
better
at
than
an
Chase. He'll always
exceptional
be better
level.
than Chase.
Yeah, and I don't understand how people think the other way, but I think Jefferson's just better. He's exceptional at every single aspect. And there are things that Puka isn't great at. And so that's why I think Jefferson, he's just the best well-rounded receiver in the NFL. He's a great route runner. He's elusive. He's got awesome hands.
I know, but that's
And
not
I'm
the
not trying to
question.
glaze him because he's a Viking. Like, you wouldn't understand this from me saying this. He's like not one of my favorite players in the NFL. I just unbiasedly think he's an awesome receiver.
But David, that's
And
not the question.
what's the
The
question?
question is why this year do you have him ranked ahead of CeeDee Lamb? Because
Because
Justin
I
Jefferson's
think
5 and
they're
CeeDee
even
Lamb's
as
6.
far as their like floor, or not as floor. Like, I think their draft, they're right in the same area of the draft. And like I said, CeeDee Lamb has been doing it, and Justin Jefferson has something to prove this year. And I trust. I mean, Kyler Feeds is wide receiver one. They have other good targets. There's no George Pickens in that offense. Jordan Addison does not demand the target share that George Pickens does. And Kyler is going to get the ball to
So the
Jefferson.
answer is you're projecting the Vikings offense to be significantly improved and
Yes.
therefore
And
support Justin Jefferson.
the Cowboys offense is going to be one of, if not the best in the NFL, but there's more mouths to feed in the receiver room, which is crazy to say because the Vikings are like one of the deepest receiver rooms, but just that Pickens target share is so much higher than. I mean, Jennings might steal a couple touchdowns from Jefferson,
Yeah.
being honest, but Jefferson's going to go for 1,300, 1,400 yards and 8, 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think and I have Justin Jefferson ranked 5 and CeeDee Lamb ranked 6. So, I mean, I agree with you. I just want to put that out there. I'm just playing a little devil's advocate here. I can see what you're saying about George Pickens compared to Jordan Addison, but I do think the Vikings have a more complete assortment of weapons than the Cowboys do. It's just more spread out among multiple people. Like, the Cowboys, in my opinion, I mean, people might say, oh, you're being disrespectful to Jake Ferguson, but like, it's CeeDee Lamb, it's George Pickens. Like, those guys need to have 75+% of the targets, right? And like, I could see a situation where Justin Jefferson actually still doesn't have as much work as CeeDee Lamb because there's Jordan Addison and there's Jawan Jennings and there's TJ Hawkinson and there's Aaron Jones out of the backfield who catches the ball well. So it's like more of like I could see how it gets spread out among more mouths, whereas with the Cowboys it's consolidated really mostly to 2 guys. That's the only like thing I would say about your argument, that like I could see how that's not true. But I have Justin Jefferson 5. I prefer him to CeeDee Lamb just barely. So I mean, for the most part, I agree with you. But like I said, for me, it's like I'd much rather pick 10 and take whichever one falls to me than be 8 or 9 and have to choose. So we've got JSN number 4. I think most people have JSN number 3. We've talked about the concerns with JSN.
The offense, they don't pass the ball.
Go watch the NFC West breakdown if you want to know why we're a little bit lower than consensus on JSN. Um,
Yeah.
I would draft him. If I was drafting eight or nine, I'd draft him. I don't think he's going to be there, but I'd draft him if he was.
I won't leave it that much. I mean, they throw the ball at like the lowest rate in the NFL, and teams had another year to figure him out. That's all I'm going to say.
And the devil's advocate argument to that is the offensive system is going to change completely, so it's hard to predict.
That's fair. But yeah, watch the other episode, learn a little
I'd
more
much rather have Amon-Ra. He's ranked number 3. Is it 3 years in a row he's finished wide receiver 3?
Yeah, he just keeps catching the freaking ball.
It's where he lives. It's where he lives. If Puka Nacua gets suspended, we might see Amon-Ra St. Brown wide receiver 2.
He's never going to be the wide receiver 1.
I think he could be it this year. He could do it.
I don't think so.
He could.
The other guys just get more.
He could do it.
Yards. Get more.
He could do it this year. They have such an easy schedule. I think this is the first year I've thought that he could do it. I don't think he will, but he could.
Now he probably will after I'm on video saying he'll never be the wide receiver 1.
He would be who I would draft if I was drafting number 6 and the 3 running backs, Puka and Jamar Chase, were gone.
I'd take him 5 right now.
Over CMC?
The CMC situation at this point.
That's
he
totally
still
fair.
Practicing.
I just don't think the running back position is as deep, and if Christian McCaffrey plays a full season, he's probably going to be the running back 1.
I know, but dude,
it's a huge risk, but I mean, you got to swing for the fences.
It's too much like the 2 years ago when I had CMC, and then he just.
I totally get it. I totally get it.
Stupid, and I'm glad we aren't a humongous podcast yet because my face right there would have just got clipped and put all over the internet.
But yeah, I really like Amon-Ra. He's going too low. I feel like he's always going a little bit too low. Because he's not. It's kind of like you said about. I can't remember who you were talking about. Maybe Garrett Wilson. I can't remember. Maybe Nico Collins. Anyway, he's not a sexy pick, but he's going to get the job done. Dude, he was my wide receiver 1 last year, and I loved every second of it.
Here's what I would say. I don't like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He annoys the absolute crap out of me listening to him talk. Dude, I could not stand during that stretch. Like, I can name every wide receiver taken in front of me. I say it to myself in the mirror every morning. Well, he's a dog, and that's all that matters for your fantasy team. So
he could be the opposite of T. Higgins. He can play through every injury under the sun. I think he could play with a torn ACL.
Yeah, but yeah. Doesn't matter what you think of someone personally. If he puts up the fantasy numbers, he's a good pick.
Yeah. That's why in our league of record, I just
ran the league
with Devontae Adams for like 5 years because nobody would draft him in a Vikings league, and I was loving every second.
Dude, Amon-Ra's whole family is weird. His dad named him St. Brown because just Brown didn't sound cool. It's not even his family's last name.
I didn't know that.
It's just so dumb. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's what makes me so mad. Like, it's just corny.
What I was saying about the injury thing with the ACL, I mean, I was joking, but I have to say, when he has injuries, he plays through them and he performs through them.
There's a difference between half of the year with a metal plate in his cleat last year, and people always they don't perform as well when they have that in their cleat. He performs through injury. Better. He performs. Crazy.
He performs through injury. He doesn't play through injury.
He is a freaking dog. Like, that dude is something.
Number 2. David switched him to number 2. I won the argument, maybe. No, I think it's all suspension.
If they're both
possible
healthy
suspension
and
related.
No suspension, it's the opposite way.
Puka Nacua is number 2. David and I have discussed this too. David likes Puka. I like Jamar. At number 1.
If Puka Nacua was not potentially going to get suspended and wasn't already banged up, he's my wide receiver 1. He's going to be the best receiver in fantasy if he's out there the whole season. Jamar Chase is right there, and because of how close I have them together, the suspension potential, if I was drafting tomorrow and I had the first pick, the third pick, because I would take both running backs first, I would take Jamar Chase 3. But if it comes out he's not suspended yet and you haven't drafted, I would take Puka. So there's my insight for you. They're both great. Either one's going to be awesome. So just
take Jamar Chase either way. That's my advice.
No, take whichever one you want because I think.
But if you have the number 4 pick and you get Puka, that's great as well.
Dude, my question is, in a serious league where people are worried, Puka might slide. I mean, I've seen even mocks, he's going like 5 or 6. I've seen him go 7 after this suspension news. I don't think in our league it's going to make a difference because we got some casuals that probably have no idea that's going on, and they'll say, oh my God, Puka Nacua, and draft him. But, no, I mean, and if you're in a serious league, you could get serious discount on him. And I would say there's more of a chance he doesn't get suspended than he does.
I think it's like 90-10.
Drew,
that he doesn't get suspended.
I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to get suspended either. And so,
yeah, I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to get suspended either.
I have to laugh a little, and I do need to apologize because we had a big talk about that. And so, yeah, I'm at the point, just because I'm drafting this Sunday right now, he sits at 2, but a week from now, he's probably my 1.
It doesn't matter. You have the 10th pick.
Hey, man. You know what?
Let's end this section of the show. Jamar Chase over Puka Nacua. Just do it. Believe me, I'm gonna do it. That rounds out the top 20. We talked about Tet way too long, unfortunately.
So going back,
we only got to talk about Zay Flowers for like 60 seconds.
Yeah, you know what? I think we're at an hour 16 into this recording, and probably 13 to 14 minutes was Tet, and honestly,
and the end advice was don't draft him.
That was me. Yeah, but he's awesome, so
don't draft him.
Yeah, but he's awesome, so
don't draft him. Awesome. Should we talk some tips and tricks? This is my favorite part.
Let's talk some trick or treats.
All right. So we're talking, tips, tricks, rules David and I live by when we are drafting our teams. The first thing we're going to cover is some what I would call non-negotiables. Like, doesn't matter the year, doesn't matter where you're picking from in the draft, doesn't matter. You got to follow these rules. If you don't, all you're doing is hurting your chances to win the league.
Tip number 1. Don't draft Michael Thomas when he gets hurt. Tip number 2. Don't draft Calvin Ridley when he gets sad. Tip number 3. No, I'm just kidding. That's just my...
Don't draft Will Fuller when he gets
Don't draft Will Fuller when he takes PEDs. Don't start Kiki Cutie in the playoffs.
This is David's
draft
league of record
Brock
life.
Bowers when he gets hurt. Don't freaking do any of that stuff because you won't win the league. In fact, you'll struggle to make the playoffs.
Speaking of Brock Bowers, I'm glad you brought it up. I know I hinted a few episodes ago that I might take Brock Bowers at the 2-3 turn. No way. No way.
His knee is
beeped. It has nothing to do with his knee. I can't. My team's so much worse at the end.
I know, but have you seen this? There's a video of him like doing drills today where he like jumped on both knees. He jumped like a foot higher off of his good knee than his bad knee. That's kind of scary to me.
I worry about it less with a tight end.
Yeah, it's fair. But
I think Brock Bowers is going to have a fantastic season. I think he's going to be the tight end one.
I'm a little more worried than I was. I think it puts me, McBride, pretty safely ahead of him.
Trey McBee. I'd much rather have Brock Bowers in Dynasty, I'll tell you that. He's also from Colorado and he played for CSU. Non-negotiables on the draft rules. So first one, only draft one onesie position early. Um, David, explain what a onesie is.
A onesie is someone that you can only start one of their position. So,
No. So a quarterback would be a onesie unless you're in a super flex league. Totally different story there. And a tight end would typically be a onesie position. Obviously defense, kicker. But if you're drafting a defense or kicker early, you should probably just never play fantasy football again. But no, yeah. If you're gonna go early quarterback, don't go early tight end. If you're gonna go early tight end, don't go early quarterback because guess what? Your other skill positions are gonna freaking suck, and you're never gonna win your league. And there was 2 people in our dynasty league this year, and let me say again, different story because it's a super flex league. But 2 teams went to quarterback, tight end to start their draft, and even in a format like that, I'm not in love with that.
Yeah, you can't draft can't draft a quarterback and a wide receiver early. Your skill positions will dry up far too much. In this,
Just to clarify, Drew meant to say tight end. I just want to make sure. So
what did
we're
I
not
say?
confusing the viewers. You said can't draft a quarterback and receiver.
Oh my gosh, I'm
and
sorry.
I knew
I'm so
exactly
jet
what you
lagged.
meant, but I just want to make sure that we're not confusing the people listening.
I'm jet lagged. I'm really sorry. Can't talk. How I would apply this rule to this year's draft is I'm not drafting a tight end early. There's no chance on any of them. And I'm comfortable taking Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson early. And that's about it.
I was going to say, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson's price this year versus past years is awesome, and we talked about that already in our quarterback rankings. So, yeah, happy going with those guys earlier, but still later than you have to take them other years. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm taking tight end and redraft in the 12th round. I mean, is what it is.
There's so many late tight ends I like. Number 2, target high upside, not safe floor in the later rounds. Go ahead, David. Explain this one too.
Yeah. Why are you drafting safe floor guys in the 10th round?
Remember when people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna take Mike Davis because he's gonna be the RB1 on the Falcons in the 9th round." David can't even remember because Mike Davis was so bad that year.
No, I think you drafted him that year.
No, I'm not
That's why
saying
it's-
either one of us drafted. I don't
No,
think
you
either.
did though. I think
I don't-
that's why
I don't-
it's so funny you're saying that. That's
I
why I
don't-
started
I don't-
laughing.
I don't think I did. I don't think I
I
did.
thought you did. I was like, this is
Um,
hilarious because Drew drafted him that year. But no, it's a good example. He sucked. So, yeah, don't take some bum that's probably gonna get some work. Take, Jordan Tyson in the 10th round.
Yeah, so
Take-
let's give some examples, right? Like Chuba Hubbard, you can take in the the 8th or 9th round, or you can take
Or
Jordan Tyson.
I was going to say even Jonathan Brooks at the end of the draft. I'd rather have him because guess what? His upside's there. Chuba, we've seen what he is. It's an example like that. Like, don't take
I stand by what I said in the NFC South show. I don't want any Panthers.
Yeah, fair enough. But, I mean, it's the road to upside. Don't take some guy that has the top upside of finishing as a borderline RB3 maybe. Take the guy that has a chance to come in and win you your league. Don't take what's a good example of a receiver late that people are like later that are like, oh, he'll be safe. I mean, I don't know, Stephon Diggs I actually do think Diggs has a world where he's pretty good. So that's probably not a good example.
I think more
Maybe
of like being like, I'm going to draft the wide receiver 1 on this terrible team
Jalen
instead of
Nailor,
instead of like Jacoby Lane from the Ravens or something
dude, Jacoby Lane's a dog. Yeah, it's a good example. Take young guys
on my dynasty team.
I gotta say, in our dynasty draft, I looked for him or thought he had already gone. I would have drafted him like 2-3 rounds earlier than you did, and I thought he went. I saw somebody else get drafted and thought
On my
it said
dynasty
Jacoby
team.
Lane.
On
And
my
so I was
dynasty
like,
team.
all of a sudden you drafted him after I drafted some guy I wanted nothing to do with, and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I felt so stupid. But
He's
no,
on
yeah,
my
take
dynasty
Young.
team.
Dude, shut the frick up. Oh my gosh. No, don't take guys that have upside. Young,
Always take guys that have
and
upside. Guys that
every
you
year
could
you
see
see it.
yourself
Some
playing
young
down
guy
the
comes
stretch.
in. Some young guy comes in, takes over the second half of the season, and wins people their leagues. You don't win your league by drafting some old guy that's gonna be and just So that's really the simplest way to put it. And
I think J.K. Dobbins and Aaron Jones are good examples.
yeah, don't draft Aaron Jones. He might be decent this year, but you know who else has a chance to be better? Claiborne on the Vikings, because he's actually
No,
young.
he doesn't have a chance to be better, but Jordan Mason
no,
has a
not
chance to
this
be
year.
better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's young guys, explosive guys that you don't necessarily see the path right away, but over time they start to carve out that role. Receivers are a better example typically, but there are running backs. I mean, look at Travion Henderson. He was hard to play, and towards the end of the season, he won people some leagues and stuff because he started to pick it up. It's just guys like that. He was drafted far too early, so he's probably not a good example. But it would be young guys that come on the second half of the year is really what I'm trying to say.
Jonah Coleman, for example, is a possibility this year.
It's a good one. Him. There's a couple other guys that I'm trying to think of.
I mean, you said it. Brooks is one, like, it could be.
Yeah, Brooks, him. There's another guy. I just can't think of him off the top of my head. But, anyways, we'll jump on to the next one. Hopefully that's clear. I think decent explanation. Definitely not my best, but
always target high upside. You can always cut bait and pick up guys off the waivers.
Yeah.
Rule number 3: don't draft 2 quarterbacks or 2 tight ends. It's a waste of draft picks. You can only start one.
The only way that
I said in parentheses, very rare circumstances you can break this rule. An example of that this year would be if you draft George Kittle and you want to take Jake Tonjes or something.
And even that Kittle's supposed to be back, but no, it's a good point. Quarterback, I'm trying to think. The only example where I may take 2 is if I take like a Kyler. I might take a flyer on somebody else late just in case. I'm very safe with Kyler. I don't even think I would do that.
I can't think of a single circumstance this year where I'd take 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't think so either, to be honest. Unless, I don't know. The only guy I would ever draft.
And I can think of like 1 or 2 situations where I might take a tight end. It's the George Kittle situation, and it's the Tucker Kraft situation.
Tucker Kraft, yep. I was going to say the only time, and I don't think I'll be getting Tucker Kraft in redraft because, like we said, I'm probably waiting on tight end. But if I took Tucker Kraft, what I did in Dynasty was I took Tucker Kraft, and then with the last pick, I took Tonjes because I was like, okay, so there's a path where Tonjes is the starter if Kittle's out, and if Kraft's out or not effective, I feel comfortable starting Tonjes until Kraft's ready. That's
if you want me to help your dynasty team, you should cut Jake Tonjes and pick up Jawan Johnson right now.
I drafted Tonjes 10 minutes after the draft, or dropped him because I did some more research and saw that Kittle is supposed to be ready for week 1.
You should still pick up Jawan Johnson.
I just don't have anybody I want to drop. I really like my bench right now in Dynasty.
Yeah, fair enough.
So basically, but I have to roster Keaton Mitchell because I actually think he's going to be like used enough where he could be fantasy relevant. And then if Hampton went down, dude, he's actually really good.
I don't know if Hampton went down if he would be amazing though. I think they might just put Vidal in the Hampton role.
No, but then I think I'd be able to actually feel like I could start Mitchell because I think he might be borderline where he's like explosive enough where he's like low key you could start him too, even though Hampton's healthy. But I'm not going to be able to because there's no way in anything that I'm going to start 2 running backs from the same team. But, yeah, anyways. I just don't want to drop any of my guys right now. But on to the next tip.
Yeah. Last non-negotiable. You need to draft defenses based on their week 1 matchup, not how high they're ranked. I see this mistake all the time. People draft like, oh, the Seahawks defense was amazing and they won the Super Bowl last year. I'm going to draft them. And then their week 1 matchup is like the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. And it's like, terrible decision. You need to draft your defense based on that week 1 matchup. Do you want to play them against that team? I'm sure as we get closer and get through some mocks, David and I will kind of talk you through some of our favorite defenses based on their week 1/week 1 and week 2 or whatever matchups.
Dynasty this year.
Defense should always be your last pick of the draft. Kickers
Dynasty, dude.
can have more
defense. Kicker is way more valuable because kicker, you ideally don't need to stream it, and you
I'll
can
let
get
David talk about it, I guess.
I'm sorry, I got excited, but like kicker. First of all, we hate kickers. We talked about this. They're way overpowered in most leagues. Nerf kickers if you don't remove kickers. But kickers, like...
We should get shirts that say we hate kickers.
We should. But, like, kickers actually makes a difference. Like, if you have a good one for the whole season. Like, I always go back to this. Like, I had Fairbairn last year. And for the first time in my life in fantasy football, I had 2 kickers rostered for a week because I wanted to keep him after his bye week.
Gosh, and you just reminded me. I went and looked in my keeper league, and they voted 5-4 to keep freaking kickers.
Oh shoot! But yeah, no, I rostered 2 kickers to be able to keep Fairbairn, and
6-3 to keep the same broken format instead of nerfing them.
And anyways.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Anyways,
I lost last year one time because Kaimi Fairbairn scored 28 points.
That dude is the GOAT. He scored freaking 20 sometimes.
That's freaking ridiculous that a kicker could score that much.
Dude, he scored like 20 in our league. Anyways, that is exactly my example. If you're going to draft the kicker at least, if you're going back-to-back rounds. I'm going to
draft Brandon Aubrey in like round 12 in this league.
Dude, it makes sense in that league. But yeah, no, I'm saying like if you go kicker defense your last 2 rounds, go kicker first. That actually will help you over the course of the season. Defense, I live and breathe by streaming defenses. There's very few times where there's ever a defense in my lineup for more than 2 weeks in a row, and when there is, it's because they just have a stretch of amazing schedule.
I might have forgotten somebody, but the only example I could think of was 1 year, and I've been playing fantasy football for darn close to a decade. The Bears 1 year, they were so good on defense that you could start them against anybody the whole year, and they finished number 1. But like, it's really, really rare. Even if I have an amazing defense.
Last year, the Texans defense was, I'm just looking, their worst week of the year was 4, and other than that, they scored over 7 points every week, and most weeks it was above 11. They were
that's fair.
The team last year.
Were the Texans ranked as the number 1 defense going into the season, though?
No.
On fantasy platforms? That's my point.
This year, they're going off the board first. And so...
Please just stream the position. And if you get lucky and you draft a defense that is sick, like, that's great. But, like, stream the position. Just do it.
No, I agree. But yeah, no. That was, like, the only examples of defenses last year where they weren't worth dropping. And... in all likelihood, we don't see that most years, so I would guess there's not going to be a defense to that extent this year. Teams will figure out how to play against those defenses that we saw that were so awesome last year, and kind of they'll dive into that film and they'll take some holes that they had that we didn't see last year and start to expose those a little bit more. So 100% Drew's right. Don't draft a defense until the last round, and don't draft them based off their season long. Draft them based off their week 1. For example, I was kind of bummed, but I don't think there's a ton of great matchups week 1, and if there is, our league did a good job at this because I had to pick up a defense after the draft, I think, or I might have, and I have the Bears right now against the Panthers, and it's not bad, but I definitely would have liked a better week one that I felt a little more comfortable about, because I just don't think the Bears defense is that great.
I've got the Steelers going against the Falcons in that league. The Jaguars play the Browns week one. The Chargers play...
Well, like, a terrible example is
the
Dave
Raiders
drafted the Texans defense in Dynasty, and they play Buffalo week one.
Yep. So now he's either going to have to start them against Buffalo, or he's going to have to roster two defenses. Either way, really bad for his squad.
Let's see who has the Seahawks defense in there, because I'm sure they play New England. It's the same situation.
Yeah, it's not a great matchup. No, not at all. I shouldn't say this because David's going to draft him now ahead of me, but my favorite is the Chargers. They play... I can't remember off the top of my head, but they have two wonderful matchups to start the year, so you could play them twice. I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the order, but I believe the order is Cardinals-Raiders back-to-back weeks.
Here's a great example of somebody doing their research. In our league, my friend Ben, in our Dynasty League, he's got the Jags going week one, and I mean, they're a solid defense, but they play Cleveland.
I already said that. They play the Browns.
Yeah. And so, on the contrary, Drew's buddy, no shade here, is rostering the Rams, and they play San Francisco week one.
I have to say, though, the Rams, if they get Aaron Donald back, might be one of those defenses that you can just play the whole year.
That is fair. But the example is there. Like, draft based off their week one matchup. I always have done it, and I think people sometimes that aren't paying attention are like, why the heck did he draft that defense? And then they go score 12 points week one. So,
I'd feel okay drafting the Titans defense. They play the Jets week one. You can fire it up. It's totally fine. The matchup matters far more than the defense 90% of the time in fantasy football. Okay, so those are kind of your non-negotiable rules. So you can only draft one tight end or quarterback early. Target high upside players, not safe floor players in later rounds. Don't ever draft two quarterbacks or two tight ends except for some very rare circumstances, which we did talk about for this year specifically. And then always be drafting defenses with your last pick and targeting week one matchups that are nice. Let's talk a little bit about some of these, like, I guess I'll say like trendy terms that get thrown around, David. So people are like, oh, I'm going to draft with a 0 RB strategy. Or those types of terms that get thrown around. Let's kind of break them down so people kind of know what they are for people who are a little newer to fantasy football. And then maybe talk about the approach that we're taking this year, if we're following any of those approaches or if we're not. So
0
first
RB.
one is 0 RB. David can break it down for you.
0 RB is going to be essentially getting heavy on other positions and waiting on your running backs. This is a pretty popular one. Well, I mean, it has been in other years.
It's a super trendy one from 5 years ago.
And
it's becoming less and less popular.
Yeah, and I think that's just because trends in fantasy football change. And 5 years ago,
and then the ADP draft board reflects those trends, and then it's no longer a good thing to do.
Yeah, 5 years ago, wide receivers ran fantasy football, and so going 0 RB was a good strategy because you could get those running backs later down the board. Right now, you can't. Right now, running backs are really, really dominating the front half of the draft, and so you really can't go 0 RB. Like I said, 0 RB would go, let's go wide receiver, and then quarterback, wide receiver, and then tight end, and then maybe another receiver, and then you finally take your first running back. It's not a good strategy. Stay away.
If I go 0 RB, which I'm not doing this year, by the way, I think it's a terrible year to do it, but I'm always drafting 4 wide receivers in a onesie with my first 5 picks.
Yeah. And then the next strategy I'm going to break down is the hero RB. Now, hero RB is, in a sense, similar to 0 RB, but let's say, for example, you have the first pick of the draft, okay? And you go Jahmyr Gibbs. And then with your second pick, you go wide receiver. Maybe you go get Josh Allen in the 4th. You go wide receiver again. So your starting lineup is Josh Allen.
You're not going to get Josh Allen in the 4th, but the point stands.
Or quarterback in the 4th, sorry. But
anyways, you go running back and then you wait and you load up on your other positions. And so obviously the reason it's called hero RB is because your running back is your hero. You don't have a stud in the number 2 role, but you're surrounding that stud running back with other positions. And this is actually one that I may be approaching with this year. It's interesting because you might be like, okay, so what I talked about is I'm going to go probably receiver with my first pick, but I have the turn. So I'm going to go receiver running back. And I think it's pretty likely that with my 3-4 turn, I go receiver. And like we said, if Lamar's there at my next pick, I'm going to take him. And so there's a chance that I won't be taking my second running back until, what would that be? Like the 6th round. And so in my eyes, that's kind of getting...
If you're drafting a running back in the 6th round, you're not doing hero RB.
Yeah, you're right. But it's like a lesser extent. Hero RB.
If you went another wide receiver there and you took a running back in the 7th, then I'd say maybe you are. But I'm just I'm not saying fair. You need to follow it strictly or whatever. I'm just telling you.
I would say maybe for me a minimalist version of the hero RB where I go in 1 RB early, then I wait to take a second one till maybe like the 5th, 6th, or like the 6th round, maybe the 7th. But as Drew is correct. A true hero RB would be a 0 RB strat, but you take your first pick being a running back, and then you just wait to fill the rest of the running back room.
Yeah, I actually really like this strat if you're drafting 1 or 2, and you get Gibbs or Bijan, because you can get some really, really great wide receivers at the 2-3 turn, and people start reaching on the running backs in round 2. And round 3 and round 4, I've noticed the running backs get reached for because people need running backs. And if you get a Jahmyr Gibbs or a Bijan, and then you compare that with 3-4 great wide receivers plus an amazing quarterback, I think that's a really good draft strategy if you're drafting out of the 1 or 2 spot, or if you're drafting out of the 3 and Bijan falls to you or something as well. But I'm not really comfortable running the hero RB with any other running backs this year, because if you're going to go hero running back, that running back needs to be a stud. And Christian McCaffrey has the potential to be that, but you can't risk it with McCaffrey and the injuries and stuff. So you need running back depth if you're going to go McCaffrey. So for me, I'm comfortable running that strategy this year only if I'm drafting Bijan or Gibbs.
I think we might already mention this earlier in the episode, but I just want to make sure we did. Kamara's hurt. He's supposed to be out for multiple weeks. And
we didn't mention that, but I already liked HN.
I know, but it just, or HN, yeah, it opens it up for him even more, and so he's even better pick than he was before. Just mentioning it.
For sure. For sure, it's important news.
Another funny thing, sorry, I was looking through Twitter just making sure there's no news that we missed, and potentially Jordan Tyson's first game back will be on MetLife turf.
Oh no. Last strategy I think is becoming the popular strategy in response to the 0 RB trend is the heavy RB trend. It's a pretty simple strategy to understand based on what you're saying. You're drafting 3 or 4 running backs with your first 5 picks. And this is probably the strategy I'm going to be following this year. I'm probably going double running back at the turn after I take Chase. There's a very high likelihood I'm taking at least 1 RB at the 4-5 turn. So I'm going to be coming out with at least 3 running backs that I'm very comfortable with in this draft, because I think there's a huge cliff. And I personally feel like I need that running back depth. I'm almost essentially doing the hero RB strat, but for wide receiver, with a hero wide receiver. But probably not, because I probably will be taking like a strong wide receiver too at some point in the first 5 picks. What I'm really gonna do. So some people are like, they go into the draft, I'm doing this strategy, they stick to it and they just roll with it. I've done that before. I've gone into drafts saying I'm doing the 0 RB based on where I'm going. Here's 3 or 4 wide receivers I like at each of my picks. I'm taking one of these 3 or 4 guys every single time, and I stick to it. What I'll say is, if you're gonna do one of these strategies, you have to stick to it. You can't get into
Drew
like
zero RB'd in our dynasty league, essentially. You're here. I'm trying to remember.
I don't even know if you could say I hero RB'd because I had Brees Hall.
No, you pretty much zero RB'd because you were the by far the last person to take a running back.
I didn't do that intentionally.
I know, but you
just
did
the way
do
the
it,
draft board
technically.
fell. Yeah. But what I'll say is, if you go in and you're like, I'm doing zero RB, you cannot get to the 3rd or 4th round and be like, oh shoot, and draft a running back. You will destroy your team.
Oh shoot, Josh Jacobs is here. Let me draft him.
You can't do it because you're going to mess up the strategy, and then your team build's going to be off. So if you're going to do one of the strategies, you have to stick to it. And like I said, I've done it before. This year, I'm not following any of these strategies.
My favorite strategy this year is let the board come to you.
My strategy this year is I'm punting both the onesies, and I'm taking my first 8 picks are going to be 4 or 5 running backs and 4 or 5 wide receivers. I mean, that's.
I will say the only thing is if
Josh
Allen is like actually sliding, he might be good value. But that's the only person I would really even consider at either position. Before, like we said, if I get Zay Flowers, I will take Lamar at in the 5th round because that stack could be gross.
And I do occasionally draft Joe Burrow in like the 6th or the 7th when I have Jamar Chase. But
this year my strategy is I know who I want in the 1st round, and I just let the board fall to me. I mean, you have to let other people dictate because you don't know what other people are going to do. It can be really difficult if you come into a draft like, oh, I'm going to go heavy running back, and then other people are going heavy running back because all of a sudden your heavy running back is worse than your heavy running back would be if you're the only one doing it, and then you're just letting other people load up on studs at receiver. And so I like to really feel it out after my first pick. You kind of see how the board falls, especially at the turn. I get to take my 2 guys, and I get to wait and see who's going to be there at the next turn, and if it's going to be, ideally, really, some people that I like that are really good are going to slip if people are doing these strategies. And that's why I just let other people dictate my strategy. There's been times where I've gone in wanting to do a strategy like that, but this year I'm really open to however it falls to me. Like I said, I'm really happy with getting a start where I end up with 3 receivers, but I'd also be really happy if my flex was a really solid running back. So I would go into your drafts, honestly, unless, like Drew said, I'd be pretty content with the hero RB if you're getting Bijan or Gibbs. But other than that, I'm letting the board fall to me this year. Stay away from tight end early. Stay away from quarterback early. In general, there are exclusions to that. But that's my advice for you guys. Let the board come to you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure. I do feel like I need the running backs a little bit this year. Maybe a little bit more than David does based on what he was saying about his strategy. So I do find myself hammering the RBs pretty heavy if I take Jamar Chase in my first pick, but that's just because I don't like the running backs. I think they thin out fast.
And I feel okay about my chances. Like, me and you are pretty high on Ashton Genty, and so I feel really safe with him as my RB1 this year. I think he's going to have a good year. And I think there's some running backs late that are very competent RB2s. Like we said, Swift, unfortunately, with the injury to, why is his name leaving me? That is really embarrassing. Manungai. He's going to go up, but he was like the perfect running back in that range to get as your RB2. There's still guys like David Montgomery, but the problem is the depth isn't going to be there, and so it's still something to really think about. You'd have to be relying on your running back staying healthy, and that can be quite scary. If you do wait on running backs, you got to take your shot on some guys that have chance, like those running backs we talked about, Coleman, Brooks.
Oh yeah, if you do a zero
Those
RB
are
strategy,
guys,
you
take
need
a shot
to
on.
in your first 6 picks, you need to be taking 4 wide receivers, 2 onesies, and then picks 7 through 12, you need to be drafting like 7 straight running backs.
Yeah, and even if you go
That's how
running
you
back
do it.
early and you wait on your RB2 and your running back depth is a little bit depleted and you feel good at your other positions, you should take shots on those guys there because there's a good chance that one of them pans out for you and is playable, and then if your running back goes down, you have somebody. And if you don't and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm pretty weak at running back, so I'm going to draft these old guys like we talked about that are just safe. Like a Tony Pollard. Guess what? He's hurt. And guess what? I think Tyjae Spears is going to have a lot more work than he has other years because Pollard's hurt going into the season. So those safe guys like that, they're really not that safe. Take your shots on the young guys, going back to what we said. That's my advice.
Yep, definitely. Last thing, let's talk a little bit about drafting from the front, from the back, from the middle, those types of things. The thing I'll say is if you're drafting at the front or the back, so you're drafting around one of the turns, but you're not like the 1 or the 10 where you're picking, where you control the turn, that is where the strategy comes into everything the most. Because, and I'm an example of that this year, I'm drafting at 3, which means when I get to the 2-3 turn, when I get to the 4-5 turn, when I get to the 6-7 turn, there is 4 picks in between my 2 picks, but it's only coming from 2 teams, right? And so when I'm picking in that even numbered round ahead of those 2 teams, I need to be looking at the draft board of who they've selected and getting in their head and being like, I need a running back, I need a whatever, trying to figure out what they're thinking, because I need to try to take the guy that I don't think will make it back to me and leave the guy that I do think will get back to me. And sometimes that's not based upon ranking. Sometimes that's based upon the fact that these guys have drafted 3 wide receivers and they are going to draft a running back and you know it. So you need to take DeAndre Swift or whoever at the 4 or 5 turn in the 4th round instead of the 5th round.
Example of this. Let's say like you're in Drew's spot and there's 2 people between you. And right now the 2 holes you're trying to fill are you need a running back and you need your tight end. And both the teams picking between you have the tight end. And you're not aware and you're not paying attention, and so you draft your tight end, and then those running backs fly off the board. Please, 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 just pay attention. It's really simple.
Especially when you're drafting in the area I'm drafting, or if you're drafting 7 or 8 or whatever.
Where I am, it doesn't matter.
Especially with the onesie positions. Especially with the onesie positions.
The other
you can
people
get
have
such
no
good value.
Dictation. So what Drew said, we're talking about if you're in the middle or towards the ends, but not the ends. If you're on the ends, obviously, you really don't have to worry about it, because when you take your 2 picks, there's no way in hell to have any idea what the frick's going to be there when you come back. You just pick who you want and let it happen.
Correct.
But you have to be aware when you're you have to be aware when you're not, and be aware of people around you.
To some extent, I think when you get to the middle, you also throw it out, because like
the hardest
in a
places
10-man
to draft
league, if you're drafting 5 or 6, or if you're in a 12-man league and you're drafting 5, 6, or 7, like
you don't know.
You have no idea what's making it back to you. So you have to just draft who you like.
Hardest two places.
I think it's really, really important strategy when you're drafting close to the turns, but there's 2 to 3 people between you and the turn.
I was going to say, hardest places to draft are probably the 3rd pick and the 8th pick, because
in a 10-man
at the 9,
league,
at the 2-9,
in a 10-man league,
you only have to worry about 1 person. At those picks, you have to worry about 2 people. And to a little bit lesser extent, the 4 and 7, but at that point you're also getting to the point where it's a little harder to predict between another 3 guys picking. But no, those
I just want to clarify
spots.
Though, when David says the 8th pick, he's talking about a 10-man league. It's obviously like the 10 pick if you're in a 12-man league.
Correct. And I did say that before.
So I'm actually really excited that when we do the mock draft on Friday, I'm going to be picking out of the 3 spots, so I can kind of give some context to this as well. I think that'll be good. David will be picking at the turn, so you could see how much easier that is in terms of
I'll
the
just
stress
sit
level.
back and relax.
There's a lot more strategy that goes into picking kind of in that couple picks away from the turn area for sure. But I do enjoy it because the strategy is fun. And I do like the 3-pick this year. I think it's a good place to draft. So I'll give you some specifics on that as we go with the mock draft. Anything else you want to add specifically, David, on tips and tricks or anything about this 2026 draft board as a whole?
No, I think draft board wise, we can break that down a little bit more as we get into our mock draft. We'll talk about how the people fall for the other teams outside of us and just kind of how the board falls. But overall, no, I think those are really, really good tips for you guys. And if you stayed this long, I think good advantage for you going into your draft, because I think a lot of casual players aren't thinking about those things, and they really, really do make all the difference. One other thing I'm going to mention before we hop into the last segments is be on the lookout, because I think there is a little bit of a new aspect of our podcast / account coming out here pretty quick. I won't get into what it is, but something that I think we're both excited to get into, and some things that could benefit some of you guys, well, we'll just say what do you think the best way to put it is? Some opportunities for you guys to get your hands on some stuff that's through our account technically, but I don't want to give it away too much. I didn't plan I was going to say that, but just
just stay tuned. There may be another avenue, the Fantasy Fax
company
branding
company looking to branch our wings out,
branches out into
for all you guys.
We'll share that with you. So
yeah.
As always, we're gonna let David. We're doing good, David. We're 4 minutes under 2 hours. We're gonna let David jump into the Bible verse to close the show as always, and then we will close out the show. And wow, I just realized I didn't start with the socials. That was poor choice on my part, but we'll close it out.
Yeah, today's verse is Psalm 62:2. Truly, he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken. Really, 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 really simple verse today. Make God the rock, center of your life. Your heart should be, God's heart should be in your heart, should be the center of your life. If you have God in the center of your life, you won't be shaken. No matter what you have, you'll get through. This is a lot similar to a lot of other things we talked about. Not going to break it down too in depth just because it's so simple. But God is your rock. He is your salvation. All hope, all trust is through him. Nothing you ever do, nothing you ever say can separate you from God. And at the same time, nothing you ever do, nothing you ever say will make you worthy of God. The only thing you can do is accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. And that is what gives you eternal life. Nothing else can. Doesn't matter how good of a person you have been, how good of a person you will be for the rest of your life. It's all that matters. And, try to be your best. Try to shine the light of Jesus on others and live in a life the way that Jesus did. But really all that matters is having him in your heart and accepting him. And if you haven't, I think we both would really encourage you to consider praying to accept Jesus into your heart. All it takes is accepting, say that, Jesus, I accept you into my life. I accept and your sacrifice on the cross, that you died for me, that nothing I ever do will make me worthy of your kingdom, and that the only way there is through your sacrifice. It's really as simple as that. Honestly, wording wise, it doesn't matter. Just that knowing and accepting that that's your way to eternal life, and that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. And at the end of the day, that's what I base my life off of, and would really encourage everybody down that path. And if you're not ready, just keep looking into it, and always feel free to reach out to us. I'm always happy to answer any questions somebody might have in their faith journey. As much as we care about fantasy football, this is the most important thing in our lives. And so just want to make that known to everybody else. Reach out with your fantasy football questions, but we're here for you in your faith walk as well. So love you guys, and thanks for listening, and really excited to get into that mock draft in the next episode.
Thanks, David. As always, these episodes are dropping over on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. You can find us at the Fantasy Fax Podcast. We're on X at the Fantasy Fax, TikTok and Instagram, fantasy.fax. As always, fax is spelled F-A-X. As we alluded to, for Friday, we're doing a mock draft episode. We'll be drafting for the rules of our League of Record from our League of Record draft positions. So you'll get a little view into what we're thinking about our League of Record. And then, as we talked about, I'll be drafting towards the front. David will be drafting towards the back. So it'll give you guys who are drafting in those areas a little bit of some maybe ideas for how you want to tackle it as well in your personal drafts. So really looking forward to that. Should be a really fun episode. And unless David has anything to add, I'm going to sign us off at just over 2 hours. Nice work. We will see you all on Friday for episode number 13.